Yeah, I see that one a lot. I said there's been a lot of FUD recently around Cardano's early days and some shady Japanese websites and Cardano being a gaming coin. Can you please comment on this, clear the FUD? I've already commented on it multiple times. The only community that seems to want to push this narrative is the Tezos community. Again, I think it's because they just want to compete with us and they think maybe by lying, that's okay. The narrative is always the same. We started as a scam, shady gamble coin that was exclusively marketed to old, vulnerable people. And then when we read the Tezos white paper, we woke up and said, wow, we can just copy everything that they do and copy them and then try to go legit. That's the narrative that they push. And their evidence for this is there's some websites in Japanese that say Cardano is a gaming coin, which we didn't create or any of the core project members created or the foundation has anything to do with. Early in the project history, there were some people that were very enthusiastic about using games to spread adoption. And as we saw with things like CryptoKitties, for example, that was quite successful in the early days of Ethereum to create adoption. But that by no means was the core point of the project. The project was always supposed to be a financial operating system. The whole point of the project was to build a platform that could do the things that something like Ethereum could do, but be what we termed to be a third generation cryptocurrency, which meant that we could scale. So as we gained users, we stayed at the same performance level or increased, that we were interoperable, we could talk to many systems, and we were sustainable, meaning the system always had funds and governance mechanisms to decide where to go and how to pay for things. This was the core of the project from the very beginning. Now, yeah, Tezos white paper came out, I don't know, 2015 or something like that. Great for them. I'd been talking about these things since I did my TED Talk publicly in 2014. And I was the CEO of Ethereum, and this was the original plan that I had when I was the CEO of Ethereum back in 2013. So what? I left Ethereum, decided to go and defraud a bunch of old Japanese people, which, by the way, there were none. It's like the average age of an ADA purchaser, I think, was around 30 or something like that. But okay, let's just lie. They just love lying. It's their whole thing in life. Then somehow along the way, we just decided to go copy some project that a guy working at JP Morgan, whose IP probably belongs to JP Morgan. And that's why there's a pseudonym on the paper, by the way. Let's just go copy that whole idea. By the way, there was nothing material meaningful in Tezos white paper about how to actually implement a governance system. There was nothing material meaningful in Tezos white paper about what programming language or programming model to use. So there was no smart contract model. There was nothing material meaningful in the Tezos white paper about the consensus model. Arthur had to figure all that out for himself. And the Tezos community doesn't seem to be able to admit that there is no overlap in our designs and protocols with their designs and protocols. Zero. We use a completely different accounting model. We use extended UTXO. They use like more of an Ethereum style account. We use completely different consensus protocols that are based on years of academic peer-reviewed research. Theirs are not. We use completely different programming languages. Michelson is nowhere near what Plutus looks like or Marlowe looks like, for example. It's a completely different model in that respect. There are completely different network stacks. Their network stack looks a lot more like what the Ethereum network stack looks like. Ours was based on concepts from the RENA world. So there's no protocol level similarities. There's completely different approaches on how to achieve scalability, interoperability, and sustainability. Our governance system is being built in the Voltaire framework. All of that was based on research from Lancaster and the European Union, where the European Union paid us money to look into these things. And you can see how we're setting up our voting system, and we're starting with a treasury-oriented approach as opposed to a protocol update-oriented approach as the starting point to build up governance. And we're just getting started there. And again, there's no overlap in that design with their design. So we have completely different designs. Our designs are very complex, and they're the result of 5 years of research and development. And there's nothing copied from their ecosystem. And according to them, we're just a complete carbon copy, and we started as a shady gamble coin. How can we inspire the people we did and operate in the markets we do and do the things we do if all we ever wanted to do was defraud people? Second, the time to have done it was 2017 when ADA was over $1. So what? We just decided, no, we'll just ride the whole wave down, be good actors all the way until the tail. One day we'll screw everybody. It's just insanity, and it's laughable, but they believe it. They really do. It's like in their DNA, in their bones. It's like a conspiracy theory at this particular point. But if that's the kind of community they want to have and the kind of rhetoric that they want to foster, okay. And I keep saying it would be nice for the Tezos Foundation to issue a statement and say, oh, well, but the Tezos Foundation doesn't run everything. Well, don't they have $600 million? And don't you brag all the time about how they're the custodians who will deploy that capital to get Tezos where it needs to go? Aren't they kind of the closest thing of an official voice that you have in your community? I understand you're decentralized, great. But the reason why people invest in you and build on you is because there is a custodian who has sufficient funds. The reason you did an ICO is to have a custodian with sufficient funds. So if you have that, why can't they at least have the courage to say to their community, Cardano is not a gamble coin. We disagree with them on things. And sure, maybe Charles is an asshole from time to time. That's fair. But they're a legitimate project. Let's stop the pettiness and let's see where we can find common ground and work together. But they won't do that. Absolutely won't do that. Because they know there's benefit in having their community spread this particular narrative and attack us in every possible way in the shadows. It's pettiness and it's pathetic. And, it doesn't occupy any thought in our competitive mind space or where we sit as a project. I wake up every day, I could not care less about them. It's their thing, and they can do whatever they want to do, and they can build whatever they want to build. We're not even competing for the same customer bases, at least on the IO Global side. On our side, we wake up every day, we say economic identity. So we're in Ethiopia. They're not there, and they have no desire to be in that marketplace. We've never once run into a single person from the Tezos community in that area trying to build a project on Tezos. Maybe there are, but we've never seen them. So why should we care about their project and their success? The only thing that dismays me is I keep seeing the narrative being pushed time again, time again, time again, time again, time again. And I say, guys, come on. This is insanity. Even the EOS people have given up a bit, and we've reached kind of an uneasy peace. I don't really say much about EOS anymore, and they don't really say much about us. It's like, you guys be you, we'll be us, we'll do different stuff. Okay. Even the Ethereum people have reached peace at this point. Occasionally they attack me as a person, but they tend to leave Cardano alone, and we tend not to do much. We still write papers about their stuff. Like just the other day, Dionysus created a very efficient gas verifier for sidechain transactions to Bitcoin and Ethereum. And there's beautiful paper. So there's still research going on in that particular space, and we understand the EVM very well. So this particular community, though, it's just very insular in that respect. Okay, it's their detriment. Absolutely their detriment. If they can't see 5 feet in front of them and realize the things that we've done are legitimate and are real. And unfortunately, this is the case, and it badly damages companies. Apple ran into this exact problem with Microsoft in the 90s. And the genius of Steve Jobs was to end that in a very pronounced way. So in the 90s, Microsoft was the arch enemy, the evil empire, and Apple had to get vengeance and somehow reclaim its throne from evil Microsoft. And then in 1997, when Steve Jobs took over Apple, he realized that the company desperately needed a bailout. So the first company he went to do that was Microsoft. They bought hundreds of millions of dollars of Apple stock, and it provided Apple the financial resources it needed to get to the iMac, which in turn allowed them to get to the iPod, which in turn allowed them to get to the iPhone, become the great company they are today. And Steve was able to change the narrative and say to the Apple community, Microsoft is not the enemy anymore. We need to move on. We do different things. We think about things differently. We'll compete at times, and other times we can collaborate, be friends. And one of the most profound things you can watch is go to YouTube and Google Steve Jobs 1997 Microsoft or something like that. Enter it into the YouTube search bar, and you could actually watch the presentation where Steve Jobs buried the hatchet and ended the patent disputes and started a partnership with Microsoft. And it was mutually beneficial. At the time, Microsoft was dealing with heavy antitrust lawsuits, and they didn't want Apple to go out of business because they basically would have become 100% of the market, been problematic for them. So they kind of needed somebody to be floating around that could compete with them as a show. And it turned out to be one of the best investments Microsoft ever made, buying that Apple stock in 1997. So similarly, great leadership allows communities to pivot and change their perspective about other projects and people, and allows you then to achieve your own goals. And we can accomplish as an ecosystem much more together than we can apart. And you have to let personalities go away and be a bigger person. From our part, we're happy to work with anybody from the Tezos ecosystem. I think there's a lot of good actors there and a lot of good ideas there and a lot of mutual things that can be accomplished. It's their decision whether they want to keep pushing the narrative that we're a casino coin built to defraud the elderly until we counterfeited their ideas.